there, Whiskey Fans. I'm Chris.
And I'm Kara.
Hey, Kara. What do we have today?
We have another Chattanooga. This one is finished in Scotch casks. It is a high malt, Tennessee high malt.
With, I love Chattanooga.
Oh, I forgot to say that's the Scotch is an Islay Scotch.
Yes. I think, okay, it's a blend of different mash bills. But I think one of the mash bills, it's not on here, but I know when you go to their website, does have a little bit of like a peated or something like that. Not a backsetter.
I forgot to check that out.
I read this a while ago before it even came out, and I was like, I want it.
I do remember you saying that this was on your radar, and then when you saw it, you pulled the trigger. I do remember that.
I did. But here's my thing. I love Chattanooga.
Except for when
their one barrel that they had that was aged in a Centurion. Oh, that word.
Do you remember that review? It's right here.
That kind of scared me off a little bit because I didn't think about a barrel that old would be how they did the sulfur thing.
Yeah, so let's not ruin it. Why don't you go and check it out? It's
unless you
quite the review.
Unless you're immature like me and be like, it's got farts in it. Yeah, do it. Sure. We're here for the Scotch though. We won't talk about the past because, frankly, I'm trying to reset from my memory.
I agree. So this has a beautiful peated, smoky nose to it.
Hello.
Hello.
This actually smells like a sweet Scotch. Because it's not a single malt, so that right there takes that out of the equation. But it does smell like a malt.
Yeah. So I can't wait to get into this again. We've tried it. We could not resist when it arrived to taste it. So this will be our second go round. It is 47.5% alcohol.
Oh, it smells a little higher.
95 proof. It is it says it's greater than 4 years old, so it's older than 4 years. Now these this is a barrel finishing series, okay? So they'd only do about 5 to 7 barrels of this Scotch.
Their batches that they do of these, they're not really experimental, but whatever this is, kind of pissed me off because the port was amazing, and then it's just poof, be gone.
And it's gone. Yeah.
You had your chance. Ha ha ha. Screw you. And it's kind of like, why do you tease us? You even create like a special label, like it's gonna be a mainstay, and then it doesn't end up being a mainstay.
So this is finished in 3 types of Islay Scotch barrels. It kind of smells Ardbeggy on the nose, but I'm excited to get back into this.
It smells good. If you like Scotch. If you don't like Scotch,
if you don't like peated Scotch, you're gonna be like,
just from the nose, it's probably not going to appeal to you unless you smoke a cigar. This on the nose,
it smells more like cigarettes to me than cigars. But
no, if you like smoking cigars while you drink whiskey, because sometimes it has like a softer, sweeter peat though. Because in some Scotches, the peat is just more overwhelming. Yeah, this is more. Yeah, integrates a little bit more on the nose.
But in Scotch, if you guys drink Scotch, as you know, there's different amounts of peat, and it varies very greatly.
It's like chewing tires, drinking iodine.
Yeah, or campfire coals, ash. I've had cigarette ashes before. All of it. But I can't wait to go into it because I remember what this tastes like.
It's a little bit of a campfire ash.
But you know what hits me right away? The beautiful sweetness from the corn. Yeah, because there's corn in here because it's not a single malt. I mean, it's a high malt. Excuse me, I misspoke. Single malt is exclusively Scotch. This has corn in their high malted recipe.
But it does have a malted nose on it. Slight.
That's because it has a high malt, but there's still corn. So,
for sure. So
it's not exactly like Scotch because Scotch has malted barley, and this has corn in it. So you get a dark caramel in the front where you wouldn't get that in Scotch. Yeah. And it's like, this feels like...
Ooh, got a nice little...
this feels like it's it's bringing the sweetness out of that corn, but it's giving you that beautiful, peaty, dark, smoky from the peat.
It's slightly almost, not a barbecue, but like if you're out camping or at a grill, kind of like, right? No, I know New Riff, the backsetter bourbon.
Oh, it's very
similar
vein.
Similar vein, but this one is more of a sweeter, gentler kind of like, here you go. I think bourbon drinkers might be more apt to be introduced to this to get into Scotch.
Really?
I think so. Because the backsetter had a little bit more oomph to it. A little bit more of a different peat.
I don't remember.
That Scotch drinkers would appreciate more.
I don't remember the difference between the backsetter bourbon and the backsetter rye. I think the backsetter bourbon has less peat influence, if I remember.
But the peat was not like this campfire ash. It was more of like a...
I think we need to revisit, but that is a good point.
But I think because this has a little bit more sweetness to it, and it's not as strong and upfront, and it's just slightly more of like an ashy, I think it's more kinder.
I think this is a better representation between halfway between bourbon and peated Scotch because of that malt factor. Because the New Riffs didn't have that malt. Remember, it literally was bourbon that they backset peat whiskey in. Same with the rye. This has quite a bit of malt, and that is one of the characteristics of Chattanooga that both you and I like. Is we like malty.
I think people that drink only Scotch might not appreciate this, but I think they could see it for what it was, and I'd be like, oh, that's just terrible. You know, like, whereas the New Riff backsetter, I don't... A lot of people didn't like that.
I know, it's just unfortunate. I like it.
Yeah, I like it too. But this right here, I think, is the best of both worlds.
I think so.
Because it kind of just meets in the middle.
Or it's just fun. How about that? How about it's just fun?
It really is fun.
Sometimes you need a little fun in your whiskey, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like the peat's not overwhelming.
No.
So the other grains come out and...
So don't drink it yet. It's how many minutes has it been since you've had it? A couple minutes, right? Do you
taste...
What
is time? We're in a pandemic. What's time? What's time?
Do you get on my tongue? I feel like I just had a cigarette 20 minutes ago. Tastes like cigarettes a little bit. Do you get that?
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
More the Scotch is a little bit more pronounced. This is just like I had a cigarette like 30 minutes ago and I didn't brush my teeth.
20, 30 minutes ago I had a cigarette.
Yeah.
That's what the after like the finish or the aftertaste.
But I do
it's a little cigarette-y.
Yeah.
But
if you're not a smoker, you might not equate it to a cigarette.
Right.
More like I just ate something at a campfire that had that smoke. You know, okay, dudes, unless you have long hair, you probably don't know this. I just said dude. Okay, I'm familiar.
It's fine.
I can't stop it.
Dudes is gender neutral. But folks,
it's part of my vocabulary.
It's
y'all.
Fine.
So if you have long hair and you're at a campfire and then like that night or the next morning when you wake up from camping or just at a cookout, you smell your hair. This is kind of like sort of what it feels like if that had a taste, right?
I agree.
Like, it's not bad. You're like, oh, I should have washed it out, but sometimes you go back to smelling like, oh,
I remember
like that.
Oh, I remember s'mores.
That was a good time.
I remember
right?
Steak over the barbecue. That was fun.
Yeah.
This is super intriguing. I actually really like it.
I do too.
So because it has that sweetness of the corn, I have to separate it out in my mind from the peated Scotch that we absolutely love.
You can't even think about the Scotch.
This is just a new thing. This is just a new thing.
New category.
And I love it. I am here for it.
I know, and I'm glad that Chattanooga redeemed themselves from that just fart barrel that they had.
Oh my lord.
It's hard. I might need to go to therapy for that, to just blink it from my mind.
For those of you that are just looking at Chattanooga or you don't know a lot about Chattanooga,
stay away from the experimental.
They have I would consider it like a 3-tiered system. They have their core range, they have their special releases, and they have the experimental. Now, what they determined to get this finished release from, if you look at their experimental page, they are doing some crazy things with barrel, with finishing, and that centenarian we had was from that classification. So that stuff is going to be wild. If you're not that into crazy things, do not go experimental. Go classic. Go their core range. Or if you're feeling a little adventurous, maybe step it up to do these special finishing series.
Where it's like a small batch, like a really small batch,
And then
for 5 to 7 barrels.
Right, and then if you're like wilding out and no holds barred, all rules off the table, like Chicharnolino at Encore Whiskey, then you can jump over to the experimental batch. Is that fair? Like, that's the tiered. I feel that they're very tiered system.
True, because we've had 2 experimentals that I did not like.
True.
There is a rum one, but I think it was not the rum that I care for, and I think that's why. A lot of people enjoyed it. I did not.
I thought it was fine.
You thought it was fine.
That's good.
So it's just a person's palate, really, is what it is.
And my brother thought it was heaven on earth.
He's a rum drinker.
And he's a rum guy.
So I just think it's the rum that I don't care for.
Yeah.
Which is probably most of rums, except for what Lindsay and John send us.
Shout out to Truths, Proofs, and Firewater Reviews.
Yeah, they sent us some really good ones. There was even a coconut one. I was like, hey, this is my jam right here. This Scotch special release
is not for everybody.
No.
But you're adventurous.
If you're thinking of trying Scotch, this might be a good intro into it, because you have the flavors of a peated Scotch and sort of slightly a single malt with a little bit of corn into it to ease you into it, and it's not overwhelmingly, because if you just go from bourbon to straight up Lefroy or Ardbeg, that's a hard sell, unless
for some people it is.
It's gonna be a hard sell. You got to ease into it because it's completely different bourbon and Scotch. So this is a happy medium, and I think there's gonna be both sides of strictly Scotch or strictly bourbon that could help them ease into either going from Scotch to bourbon or bourbon to Scotch. I think it could be like a nice to go into both avenues.
Yeah, I think it's fun to taste things that are a little outside of your norm every once in a while.
This has a happiness of both worlds that you can appreciate and just sit back and enjoy.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So have you guys had any Chattanooga? Have you had any experimental releases? Please give us a comment below. And while you're down there, give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to our channel and turn on those notifications so you can join us in the next video. Well, I don't know about you, but I fancy this whiskey.
The nose just gets better.
Just gets better.
Just gets better.
Cheers.
Cheers.